Assalamu alaikum, sister. Thank you for writing to our live session. And I understand your concern and your confusion possibly of why there's not a specific hadith or a specific surah or ayat dealing with domestic violence. Domestic violence is a huge problem globally as well as in Islam, sadly. And I just want to say that I'm really sorry what you and your mom had to go through with your father. All those years of abuse and domestic violence are definitely haram. And yes, as in any other major sin, any major transgression, violence and domestic abuse, oppression will be dealt with by a law. Now, there might not be anything specifically saying that outlined like it is for women, but being that men are responsible for their wives, right? Being that they have the obligation to care for them, be kind to them, provide for them, and love them, you can rest assured that, yes, they're going to be greatly questioned about this by a law. And I don't know why it's not, written as clearly as it is in regards to women who are disobedient or who are vile or violent or whatever sin or justification for leaving the path of a marriage, Islamic marriage. But the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, there's no institution in Islam that is more sacred than the institution of marriage, right? And in the context of marriage, Allah created marriage for tranquility, protection, peace, and comfort. And anything that deviates from that is haram, right? Abuse of any kind is in conflict with the principles of marriage. And according to TMV, which is an Islamic organization that addresses some of this, they offer the advice that it is, deeply ingrained into society, but in Islam, it clearly states what the purposes of marriage is, and that to go against that, is haram and does have consequences for men. And I would kindly suggest that you write to Ask the Scholar section of About Islam for an exact hadith or an exact verse in the Quran regarding this, regarding the outcomes or ramifications for men who are abusive. Because I'm not an Islamic scholar, right? And I've studied this for a while, and I've come to the conclusion that yes, there is a very severe penalty for husbands that do this, and just by the weight of the responsibility that they have in marriage to treat their wives, with love, kindness, mercy, and affection, and to make the marriage a place of tranquility, protection, peace, and comfort. So with that said, and marriage being one of the most sacred institutions in Islam, the outcome cannot be good for men who abuse their wives or children. But like I said, in regards to a specific place in the Quran or a very specific hadith, please do contact our Ask the Scholar section, as they obviously will know more about the specifics than I would, because I'm not an Islamic scholar. But if you look at it from a perspective, sister, that men are the protectors of women in marriage, and they're to take care of them and guard them and be loving. And then if they are abusive, that is a huge violation of the sanctity of marriage and a huge violation of what Allah has created. So perhaps it's written about the outcomes of women who are disobedient, and it's kind of referred to the outcomes of men who are disobedient, oppressive, or abusive, but it's not as specific because perhaps in the wisdom of Allah, it is in there, but it's stated differently, right? So first, number one, we know that marriage is one of the most sacred institutions that Allah has created, and Allah has commanded justice, the doing of good, and He's forbid shameful deeds, injustice, and rebellion, right? And if you go against that, you receive consequences. So I feel, given that this subject is one that is very heavy, and it needs a lot of further research, and it needs imams and scholars to speak out and talk about it in a very clear and concise way for women, perhaps that will, come about in the future, inshallah. But knowing, what I have read in my limited knowledge, marriage is a very sacred institution, and Allah has set down guidelines for marriage, and He's very adamant, to never beat your wives, never to be oppressive. So men who do that, have to, either repent and change, or they're going to face the consequences. Now, with that said, I understand that you have a lot of trauma right now, sister, and I'm really sorry about that. And you're 22, and I'm not sure if you've received intervention or counseling when you were younger, or if you're getting counseling now, but you really should seek out counseling in your area. And I understand that you can't afford it, and I understand that money is an issue right now. However, if you look in your respective community for perhaps community mental health centers or crisis services, even check with your local physician if there's places that do counseling for free, because there are a lot of them that do, or they do it on a sliding scale fee. That would be very beneficial for you. Some places have more resources than others, so I'm not really sure where you live. But I would definitely encourage you, sister, to please, seek out counseling services that are for free or on a sliding scale fee, so that you don't have to worry about money, because your mental health is, what really matters. Do you know what I'm saying? Your healing is very important, and I know that you're reading and you're learning and you have your own recovery and the sources that you're using, but if possible, really try to engage with a counselor or a clinic or a community center that offers free counseling. That would be best, inshallah. With that said, I understand, the trauma that you have gone through, and I understand that it's hard to deal with, and it hurts, and it can leave an impact for a very long time. And that's why it is so important, to not only get your question answered, right, about a specific place in the Quran or a specific hadith, right, because that's very important to women, I feel, but also to be on your own path of healing. And with this degree of trauma, it may, take a professional counselor or therapist in your area. And again, you may be able to find some that do free counseling, like in clinics offer free counseling or sliding scale fees, and that will greatly enhance your healing, and also it enhances your skill set and the observations and the input from the therapist, right? That will help you as well, inshallah. So please do check that out, and please do write to our section, Ask the Scholars, and please pose that question to them for a specific hadith or place that outlines, what will happen to men who are abusive to their wives or children. Again, like I said, in the Quran and in different hadiths, it does allude to what will happen, right? And it does state that men are to protect their wives and to love them and not hurt them. And to go against one of the most sacred institutions Allah has created is a big sin and will have big consequences. So, sister, I'm not sure how much this is going to help, but I hope it helps some. If you have any further questions, please let me know in regards to trauma or healing, or any other resources that I could, provide. But please do ask our scholar section for that one specific question on a definitive outcome for men who abuse wives or children. Inshallah, they will be able to help you with that. We wish you the best.